Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin String coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. Although this one will be the last one for this month because Ramadan starts up on the 18th. So I will be at the mosque every day until Ramadan ends. So the 22nd will be my next Sunday night dinner. So I put that up in the community post. I've mentioned it a few times, and I put it in the description of this stream. So I decided to go for the last Canadian IMP that I have. This was one of them that I got, I believe, from Mike Crusher. This is packed in 2021. This is the pub style pulled beef, menu 12. I see Waffles is here. Thanks for dropping in. These have these, some like to call them the dog bone because of the shape of the tab. It's discreet yet very easily pulled on. And then it has a zipper seal, which are always closed. So until you open it, these bags are watertight. So if you have this ration and it accidentally falls into water, it is protected. So the first thing I'm going to pull out is one of the 2 retort pouches. Sliced pears. Got a Kit Kat bar. Can't go wrong with that. Peanut butter. So it's a creamy peanut butter. I have yet to see a chunky peanut butter in any of these rations. Got the Nescafe Sweet and Creamy for my Mike Crusher mug. Got a packet of Tabasco. Ubiquitous Canadian paper towel. These have changed over the years. This is a different kind of paper, same size but different texture. Got the Canadian beverage bag, which is gusseted at the bottom. Got a pair of tortillas. I had a backup plan in case it would have been a cornbread in here, but my backup plan can go back into the box. 2 lemon lime sports drinks. Use one for the drinking jar, the other one goes away. The Carlos Perry's here. Camp Pad Family Compound. Pepper for the Ages here. Looks like something leaked on the matches. I can't make out the smell of what that was, so I'm going to set that off to the side. Oh, I think I found the culprit. The strawberry jam leaked. So I'm going to set that off to the side. The spork stayed clean. Got the exact bar. The chocolate, I've had this one before. So got 2 bars in here. That seems kind of unusual to me. And this is the entree, the pulled beef. I'm looking over the pouch just to make sure that it stayed clean. And looks like it did. Looks like only the matches took the brunt of the jam leak. And the final 2 items out of the now empty bag. The Canadian Mint compressed towel with the maple leaf on it. And the Tic Tacs, which in more recent years has been replaced by a different candy. So that is what is in this ration. I'm not sure what the Tabasco sauce is supposed to do for this. I may end up not using it. I may not even end up using the peanut butter. So what I'm going to do is I will put this in the pot, heat that up. I'm going to go ahead and mix up one of these lemon lime drinks. Have a plastic bag off to the side for the trash that I'll generate. I think I got a little bit of the powder. Oh, a lot of the powder. I'm actually going to dump all these off, see if I can get this. I try not to make a mess of this, but, you know, sometimes it happens. I always bring a paper towel when I come back with my entree because I dry that off. I'll just use that paper towel to wipe the tray before I put the food on it. Now for the Nescafe Sweet and Creamy. Just checking the chat to see if anyone else had showed up. So got that in the mug. I'm gonna go ahead and take this into the kitchen. And I'm going to also take these the matches and the strawberry jam in there as well. Because somehow this thing got poked. I am back. I just took the kettle back into the kitchen. Yeah, the ostrich was a French RCIR, I believe, from 2015. I would have to dig way back into my video archive to be for sure. I had never had ostrich before. I had no idea what the meat looked like. But when I tasted it, I was hooked. That was so delicious. I don't even remember what the other entree was in there. It might have been a tuna one, but I did that back in 2017, I believe. But that one just sticks out in my mind as being one of the most unique things that could ever come out of a ration. And a few others that I know of who have had it have also really enjoyed it. I'm looking over everything else in here just to make sure that they're all clean. This exact bar is clean. The Kit Kat bar is a little bent, but it's not sticky. I think the way that the strawberry jam packet was in the bag, it was up against the matches. And so the matches took all of that mess. The Tabasco sauce is clean, so nothing else got messed up. Yep, the other lemon lime drink is clean as well, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, the ostrich one, especially considering how much time has passed. If you can find that one, not only find it, but find it in edible condition. That would probably cost you some bucks for sure. I had just gone into the kitchen because I wanted to see if the strawberry jam packet itself had leaked. And if it would have leaked, I think it would have been from here, right at the tear notch. But I squeezed it and nothing came out. So I am kind of curious if the same thing has happened that when Germs Emery did his most recent German ration video that I watched earlier today, one of the retort pouches had stuff all over the outside, and it could have, but yet when he squeezed it, Like I'll say you squeeze it like I'll do this fruit one. You squeeze the heck out of it, but nothing came out, so it could have either been not so great quality control when the bag was filled, or something had spilled on it. But the fruit can was a bit messed up, so that could have been the culprit as well. But believe it or not, that was actually edible. So this strawberry jam, I did clean it up. So it may still be usable, but I don't think I'm going to be messing with it tonight. Because I have something else in mind. But I'm actually going to go ahead and get a paper towel and wipe this up before I put the food on it. And I want my entree to taste like the drink mix. Gonna open up the pears. Oh, crap. I got all of that out of there. There's my crusher in the house. I got the pulled beef out. Now I'm going to open up. I'm opening up the exact bar. It looks about the same as the last one I had. kind of odd. You get two chocolate bars in here. Looks like the Kit Kat has had a rough ride. So that package was bent when I pulled it out of the ration bag. So there are the Kit Kats. I'm going to leave the tortillas on top of the coffee. Now I'm going to go get the pulled beef and I'll be right back. I am back. I use this dome lid from my regular cookware set to carry my entrees back in here from the kitchen. After taking them out of the boiling water, I'm drying it off. A tear notch goes across that way. There's some veggies in here, so it kind of looks like a beef stew, almost. Big chunk of beef, and I'm opening that up so you can see what the meat looks like on the inside. Has not been exposed to the sauce. Sterling Foods That's who packed these for the Canadian military. Popping the oxygen absorber off. The tortillas were not exactly folded in half, but that's okay. I'm gonna probably end up ripping them anyway. There's carrots and potatoes in here. The meat is very, very stringy, so it's not quite as processed. So it is a true pulled meat. Give you a close-up of that. It definitely has some spices in there, a smoky flavor. There is a piece of the potato with some of the meat. And it appears they left the fat or some other connective tissue in some of the meat. I probably could have done a better job of separating that out, but it's there. The potato still has a bit of firmness. The carrot is softer. So I like that the meat is not heavily processed. And it appears they left some of the fat in. Yep, that's just what I thought it was, connective tissue. So that little inedible bit is going to stay right up there. Or I can go ahead and toss it in my bag that I'm using for my trash. Actually, I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. There. Now that's out of your sight. You don't have to look at that anymore. I'm going to take one of these tortillas and I'm going to go ahead and rip it, since it probably would have ripped anyway. I'm going to dip it in the sauce. Really doesn't give a whole lot to it. If it was not quite so saucy, I probably would try to put it in the tortilla. Or what I could have done is, or what you, if you get this menu, what you could do, you could tear the tortilla up, put it down first, and then pour the entree over top. It would be kind of a Canadian spin on a hot beef sandwich. I just had a bite that actually had real fat and that just melted in my mouth, so, and like that connective tissue. Thanks for dropping in, Mike. I'm glad you got to see this one before it disappears down my belly. I think it would be something like this could be a good addition to the U.S. Emery menu lineup. Yeah, pumpkin meowed at me about a minute ago. You might see her walking back and forth. Might have caught a glimpse of her tail. She walked around underneath my chair. There's Tim Riley in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I got the pulled beef. I just decided on that one tonight. My halal emery is a vegetable barley stew with lamb. I think I'll rip into that one after Ramadan. So right now I am out of IMPs. When I was getting into my ration stash, I went ahead and moved a few around. So I put my RCIR and my Chinese ration, the beef menu, into my, what I call my main ration box. That's the one that I will dip into first, and then others that I'm saving for later, or that I get in after I, you know, after I get them, I'll put them in that other box, and I'll just keep moving the ones I've had longer into my main box. At one time, I had 3 boxes full of complete rations, but I have gone down to 2 because I've eaten some of them. No, that's not for kitties. Pumpkin was trying to get it at my ration bag. Nope. You can't have everything here, Pumpkin. Silly little cat. Yeah, talking about you, Pumpkin. I will try this, see how well this works. I like a lot of cats. She likes to claim stuff that is not hers. Yeah, this one, this one's actually not too bad, and I like how minimally processed the meat is. And I like that the potatoes still have some firmness. Carrots are quite soft. In fact, I pretty much crushed that piece. The hamburger bun would have been good with this because I could have literally done a hot beef sandwich with it. Yeah, I think the bun would have been a perfect fit for this instead of the tortillas. I'm going to go ahead and rip this one apart as well. This is a chocolate exact bar, and the Kit Kat bar has seen better days. I'm not going to mess with the peanut butter or the jelly. I'm not messing with the Tabasco. That's just a flavor that I really don't think works in here. And the pears look like they held up. A bit soft, but perfectly fine. Typical canned fruit. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this pulled beef. I don't know if it would still be in the menu lineup, or if it has been replaced by something else. I know some of my favorite IMPs are gone. The turkey and orange sauce is gone. I really like that one. I suppose a Canadian would, who's eaten a lot of rations, would probably be able to tell me if that one was just not very popular or well received. But I like it. Yeah, Elsie probably has family stuff to do, otherwise she would be in here. But apparently she has had this menu before, because in the messenger chat she said she liked it, and a couple others commented on my Facebook post in a ration group that I have been posting my ration selections for each Sunday. They've liked it. One has never heard of it. Well, here it is. Yeah, can't go wrong with a Nescafe Sweet and Creamy. Not quite up there with G7, but I still enjoy it. In fact, I kind of like the lemon lime drink paired with this. Best flavor choice out of the few drink flavors that you'll find in Canadian rations these days. I would like to see some additional flavors added. Maybe something like a pineapple flavor or a grape flavor or raspberry or cherry even. I wouldn't be surprised if Canadian soldiers do leave feedback about their drink choices. Tortilla is flaying itself. Speaking of mixed fruit, if I can shoot a video of me mixing my mixed fruit dessert to serve at the mosque, I will. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. The kitchen just may be too crazy. I know a few years ago I did, I think I did a video on making a mango lassi, or at least a version that we serve. If you hear any weird noises, that's Pumpkin jumping around all over stuff. Now she's in the bedroom. I heard her meow from there. So she's got the zoomies apparently. Yeah, she just ran towards a slider and then ran back the other way. Pumpkin, you got the zoomies tonight? Yeah, she'll jump around on things. She'll run back and forth. I don't know if indoor cats do that because they don't have any place to run outside. Being that I don't live on the ground floor and I don't have any way of keeping her from trying to get off the deck and probably ending up a half a mile from here. Some people who own their home have built a cage that can go out onto the deck and then have like a dog door on it for the cat to go in and out of. and they can be outside but yet safe in that enclosed space. It's usually like a chain link or something that a cat can't scratch through to get out of it. And the hole's too small for it to squeeze through. Some people have done that. But that's just something I can't do here. I would have to get a kennel, put it out on the deck, and then literally pick her up, put her in there, but because I got all my plants and my 2 chairs and table out there, well, my pots, I don't have any plants in them really. I left some in there after the fall. I'm going to see if they'll just come back on their own. But I just don't have the place on my small deck to put anything like that. I've watched videos of dogs doing zoomies. My oldest sister's dog does not do that because she's almost 13 years old. My sister got her when she was 10. But the cat, my great niece's cat, does the zoomies. Oh, Mila did zoomies big time in her younger years. I lived in a much bigger place than I do now, so she had lots of room to run. So, the windows in the bedroom and my spare room were almost floor to ceiling. They're about the same distance off the floor as my slider is because the way they built it, I have to step up to go through it over a non-functional baseboard radiator. But unlike Pumpkin, Mila was never a screen climber, so I could open the windows wide open and she'd just put her paws on the windowsill and look out. She wouldn't try to climb the screen. But Pumpkin is getting older. But until she really slows down, I'm not going to take my chance. Oh, that was not bad at all. Considering this is almost 5 years old. Let's see, I'm gonna look at the date on one of the pouches. Let's see. This is packed in the 255th day of 2020. That was a pulled beef pouch that I got that date off of. So that held up pretty good. And the pears are very soft, but they still have their flavor. They don't taste bad at all. They're just soft. Now the Kit Kat, see, it's heavily bloomed and falling apart. That's a look at the inside of it. Still tastes good. Not as good as a fresh Kit Kat, but still, it tastes good. Kind of picking up on the fat separation. Now this exact bar looks like a lot of the chocolate on here is either didn't get a good coating of it, or some have rubbed off on the inside of the wrapper. It's kind of like a larger version of a Kit Kat combined with a protein bar. I can definitely taste that added flavor of the nutrients that were put in there. But they're not bad bars. Of course, when they're fresher, it'd obviously be a lot better. Kind of sticks to my fingers, and I'm getting kind of that oily film on them. Gonna have another piece of the pear. And my shopping haul videos, especially the non-perishable food section, I showed most of the ingredients that I am using for my fruit dessert. What I do not have is the number 10 cans of the fruit cocktail. I think someone has offered to get those for me, probably from Sam's Club or Costco. Although I think you can find them at Walmart. I would have to look. I do not yet know when I'm going to be making that. I'm waiting to find that out. And if there is enough of it left over from the evening meal, the what we call iftar, if I make it during the last 10 days of Ramadan, where we will actually serve the breakfast or suhoor before first light, and if there's enough of it left over from the night before, then just may serve it then. Not as many people will show up, although we have had as many as 50 to 60 on a couple of those very, very early mornings. And then one of the guys is going to make a different version of a fruit mix, but the mango pulp, the same kind that we use to make the mango lassi, goes into that recipe, and there are variations with either yogurt or ice cream, or some have even put cottage cheese in it. And they drain almost all of the liquid, whereas as I retain it because it's needed for the pudding powder to mix in to become a sauce. Oh yeah, no doubt you get those bigger dogs when they run. They need some space. A local radio host here, well, he's actually living in Nebraska, but he still does a show that's broadcast on a local radio station here in Des Moines. He has greyhounds, and you know how they can run. So he and his wife actually run with those dogs. Now you get those dogs doing zoomies. You almost need a high-speed camera to capture their movements. They're so fast. Especially since these dogs are actually racers. These dogs this guy has were actually racing dogs. Before they were retired, or the track that they used to race at closed down. Years ago, we had a black lab who was a real goof. We actually took her in from an aunt who had to relocate, and where she and my uncle moved to, they could not keep the dog, so we took her. And she loved to run around the yard. Of course, other dogs we've had also did that. Some bigger, some small. A German Shepherd we had to let her go because we could not take her where we were moving to. But she loved to run. And then the rest of the dogs that we had were small. We had, I don't remember what kind of dog Cupid he was. I think he might have been some kind of a short-haired terrier. Maybe like a fox terrier or a rat terrier or something. Something kind of small. And Pomeranian, purebred Pom, and Pom mixes. Dachshund Pomeranian mix. That dog was a goof and a half. Because the Dachshund traits dominated in her, she would go after other animals. She'd even go after armadillos when lived in Arkansas. Thanks for dropping in, Waffles. But that dog lived to be pretty old. But when my parents moved to Arkansas for their retirement, they were not allowed to have a dog in the house that they rented. So Snuggles went to a relative, or no, a friend in Oklahoma. And she was developing arthritis, so the cold wasn't so kind to her, but she still lived a fairly long life. But where my mom lives now, people can have pets, but she's not interested in that. She will enjoy other people's pets. But surprisingly enough, as my oldest sister's dog is getting older, she's actually coming out of her shell because she came from a bad environment where she was not properly cared for. But she has come out of her shell. She has gotten better at being a camp dog when we go down to the lake. She's gotten better with walking on a leash and being on a tie out leash outside. She does not mind the cat at all. So my great niece got Penelope when she was a kitten. So, so she has spent most of her life with Lily. So they're used to each other by now. They had a lizard called an axolotl, I believe is the name, but that lizard went back to my younger nephew because it was having some health issues. So my nephew is taking care of it. He actually studied at Iowa State University. He actually got a degree in an animal sciences focusing on reptiles. And because he works at the zoo, he takes care of some of the reptiles there too. But he breeds corn snakes and geckos, but he has a few others at home. Or he will bring one home from the zoo for a short time. If he has to provide it care after hours, if there's no one there to look after it. But he breeds rats and mice to feed them, and he breeds crickets to give to the geckos. And any surplus of those he will sell to people who have bought animals from him, because he sells the snakes and geckos, and he will sell the mice and that have been dispatched, and the crickets to the people who bought the animals from him. My nephew and his wife still have their quails in one room in the basement. So they're raising for eggs as well as meat. And they are very quiet birds. There was a YouTuber one time who lives in an apartment, and he had his quails in his kitchen, or in his dining room, actually. But I just don't have the means to do that here. So I'm just going to stick with the cat. The only other animal I had in here was only for a few hours when I opened my slider to go out onto the deck, or I was going to come back in, and a bat apparently got disoriented and flew in, hit my ceiling fan. While it was running, it got the wind knocked out of it. So I used a spatula to scoop it up into a little cardboard box that I'd lined with paper towels. I called the animal control. Said I got a bat in my apartment. I got it in a box because it's injured, as it hit my ceiling fan. And so I just kept it in the box. I was talking to it quietly until an animal control officer came to take it. It was still moving around, so it was still alive when I handed it off, but I have no idea what happened to that bat. But it was a fruit bat, I think. But that's the only other animal I have had inside this apartment. Well, other than the few mice that we had when we had a mouse problem, but I had trapped, caught some. Mila caught a mouse one time. I think she nailed two. Pumpkin nailed one. But I haven't had any since, so I haven't had the need to trap. But I keep mouse traps and I have some rat traps, so if I have to use them, I'll use them. Time for another piece of Kit Kat. I'm still finishing off these bars even though they have seen better days. I'm not getting any funky feeling in my mouth that you'll get when something is rancid, so these have not gone that far off yet. The exact bar is a bit dry. The other one, the previous one I had wasn't quite as dry as this one. But it was still not bad enough where I couldn't eat it. A freshly made bar would probably taste a whole lot better and probably not be so dry. But even though these have bloomed, these are still not too bad at all. You know, all these other items that I'm not using, like the spork and Dexter drink mix and Canadian mint and the Tic Tacs. These all go into my stash. That way I can have them for my use later during an emergency situation. Or I could barter them. That's why I keep all those, and because the Tic Tacs are a hard sugar-based candy that do not have a low melt point like a Jolly Rancher. I'm not too concerned about those not going to crap in long-term storage. But they're that's the kind of candies I like to put away for long-term storage. And those lifesavers that I got out of a U.S. Marie a while back, they are in long-term storage. You know, the bigger containers of the Tic Tacs, the same way I keep those for long-term storage. I got a few different flavors of those tucked away. And these matches were made by Eddie Match. Actually, a product of the USA, but made for Eddie Match. And they're in Pembroke, Ontario. So, white tips. Actually cleaned this up pretty good. I pretty much got all of the jam off of it, so I'm pleased with that. So I describe that pretty much every time, but for those who are new to my channel, and I have picked up a few new subscribers, when I do these reviews, I don't toss anything that I do not use that is usable. I only toss the trash. These beverage bags, whether the US or the Canadian version, I like to use these to put small items in, either for organizing or in a pack. I could use this to keep small things dry. As well as for mixing drinks in. Those bags have a multitude of uses. And these compressed towels, you open the packet, if it is in one. Sometimes they're sold in bulk and they're just loose in their container. You put a couple of drops of water on it and it will immediately expand, and you can unfurl it and use it as a wet wipe. And some are even strong enough that if you lay it out and let it dry, you can use it as a dry towel or re-wet it again. Or if you leave it like this, some of these can actually burn. You can use it as a tinder. So I have actually have one of these Canadian beverage bags with some of these, and then I have a few M&M's Minis tubes that have some of these in there. And I have a box of them. It got moved around after my apartment got flooded, so I'm not exactly sure where that ended up, but I know it didn't get tossed out. I actually did not throw too many things away as a result of that. Probably because of where it was originally placed. But yeah, I keep all those things. They would be good to put in your EDC bag or a purse or to take camping because they don't take up a whole lot of space. And there are enough videos of these being demonstrated on how to basically wet them so that you can open them up and use it as a wet wipe. And they're available in different sizes. I have some of the larger ones that are maybe a little bit larger than a poker chip, or about the size of an older style silver dollar or US dollar coin. But even these Canadian ration bags, I'm holding on to all of these. As even if I end up messing up the zip seal, I could fill this with something, maybe throw an oxygen absorber in there, and then heat seal it to preserve what's in there, because these are a thick mylar bag, so they would stand up to it. And because these are a plastic bag, you could put water in these, and if you had purification tablets, you could throw a couple of those in there with the water in here, zip it up, let it sit for a half hour to an hour, depending on the instructions on the tablet. And there you go. You got a bag full of water you can use that's been treated to make it safe to drink. So that's another thing that those bags are good for. Of course, if I were, say, on a trip, camping or hiking or whatever, or a soldier in the field would finish their ration, put all their trash back in here, zip it up. It minimizes any smell. Makes it less attractive to anything with a nose. So it'd be much cleaner to pack out too. I bet CT is still roaming the highways with a bunch of rations in his truck, because that's what he likes to use for his road food. That is when he's not chasing down pepperoni pizzas. Not letting the rest of this chocolate go to waste. I finished off everything that I planned on. Yesterday I went to the mosque and I took two of those fire blankets that I got from that eBay seller who ended up shipping four instead of two because there was a shipper screw up. So I took the hook that came with the fire blanket that my oldest sister gave me back in December, and I stuck that on the wall near the women's bathroom at a height that is good enough for an adult to pull down and not for a kid to mess with. And then the other one I placed in a drawer. So, and I put a note on the office of the imam, said that I donated the fire blankets and where they were placed. So that just adds to the fire safety. And the other two, I might actually take them to Gersha, my favorite restaurant. And I'll tell them that I got two extra on top of the two that I want to get for the mosque. And I thought, maybe you guys can use them here. That restaurant has, I think, an 8-burner stove, plus a 2-bay deep fryer, and 3 flat irons for making the injera. So I think that's what I'm going to do with those other two. They are bigger than the one that my sister gave me. I may buy an additional one of that size, which would be more than adequate to cover my stove. But these bigger ones are big enough to cover a commercial stove, and that's why I wanted to get them, since I now have one for myself. And the odd thing is, my sister had no idea that I was even interested in getting one. But I think she has seen how useful they can be. She has a gas stove in her house. And even though My mom's apartment has an electric stove. Mine is electric. My other two sisters who share a house, their stove is electric. You can still benefit from having one of those fire blankets. So that's why I decided to go ahead and get them for the mosque, since now I have one. So my oldest sister has already had one, or she decided to she got several of them and just kept one for herself, and I gave the rest to us. So my younger nephew and his wife have one. My nephew Josh has one. So there's something very good to have. Yeah, we could take one to the cabin. That way, should something go wrong while cooking, we got something we can throw over top of it and smother the fire and deal with it right away. So I would definitely recommend getting at least one. So I just happen to have a nail sticking out of the wall that kind of separates my kitchen from my entry, and what one end of the cabinets are attached to. I got a nail there, so I just hung it on there instead of attaching that hook, because I figured I don't need this hook. I got this nail. I'll just use it. It's in a perfect spot. And I'll save that hook for something else. And now it's in the mosque. Now, they're available in different sizes. Some even come in an orange bag or a red bag. Different companies make them. But they're pretty much all the same as far as what they're made of. But definitely worth having. So I got mine off of eBay, but you can find them on Amazon and different sites that sell kitchen items, maybe sites that are geared towards preppers or homesteaders. Or you might, and I think they're probably even sold in hardware stores. I also took the 4-pack of the Amazon disinfecting wipes, and I looked over those containers that were dented. They were not cracked. They're still intact. They just got squished. So all 4 of those are at the mosque. That is boosting our supply of those. But because we go through probably at least a container a week, we will go through those. We had 5 others that had not been opened yet, and about 3 that have been opened. But some of those probably got used today when a bunch of people went over there to do some final cleaning and setting up the tables for our first dinner. But I did not join them for that. I also did take those silicone funnels that I got. I took all 3 of them and I put them in this cabinet that would normally be used as a horizontal filing cabinet, but use it for supply storage. So I put them in the one that's just outside the kitchen that has our microwave on it, because the plastic funnels that we had, I'm not sure if it might have gotten thrown away. But I took all 3 of those silicone funnels there. I really don't need them here at home because I have a couple of sizes of the plastic funnels, and I have an actual canning jar funnel in my canning utensil set that I found at a thrift store. I don't can, but I do have those, and that set included a timer, and the batteries had corroded in their package. They were not installed in the timer, so I just got rid of those batteries and I put a new pair of batteries in there. So I'll probably have to look at that maybe in a year or two, just to see how those batteries are holding up. But I do have one of those, but I figured I'd just go ahead and take those silicone funnels there, and they'll come in handy for sure. And a lot less messy than trying to cut a plastic bottle and trying to use it as a funnel. Which could be done in a pinch if you had to, but I figured, what the heck. I said when I did that shopping haul that I might take them over there, just in case I couldn't find the plastic black one, and I had not been able to find it, so, well, don't have to worry about that now. When we make the mango lassi, we reuse the milk jugs that the milk came in, and we just refill it with the finished mango lassi, plus the pictures that we have. So we'll put some of it in those pictures. The rest, we fill up the milk jugs because we use 2 gallons of milk. So When it's finished being mixed, we fill up the milk jugs using those funnels, and then or using a funnel, and then we fill up the pitchers, put all those in the fridge to get chilled for a few hours before it's time to serve it. And we lost one pitcher, or it got damaged, so it got tossed. But we have other pitchers we can use. One is missing its cap, but the 3 other pitchers do not have lids, but that's okay. We work around that. I've been able to put a piece of foil over the top of the pitcher after filling it. And of course, we toss those milk jugs after that. Yeah, we get our milk usually from Costco. Someone will go there, pick up a few gallons at a time, store it at Hillel Groceries in their cooler. Same with the ice cream. We get the 5-quart buckets. You use 2 of those, and we decided to go back to 2 cans of the mango pulp instead of 3. It's actually a lot easier. Might get a little bit less of the mango flavor in it, but it's easier to divide into the mixing pots. We use a couple of the cooking pots, or I may make like part of it in the cooking pot, and then maybe another. We have a clear, like a punch bowl type bucket I can use if necessary. But yeah, we thaw the ice cream overnight. Because it's a lot easier to mix with thawed ice cream than it is when it's solid. Because our freezer is set to -7 Fahrenheit. And then our fridge is set to 34 Fahrenheit. So, but yeah, thawing it out overnight makes it a lot easier to mix. But if necessary, get the stick blender and do it. Although it does get hot after a while, so. But that's all there is to it. The mango cans, you could probably get them online or at Middle Eastern grocery stores. I have not seen them at Walmart. Of course, I haven't been in Walmart in a long time. But any Middle Eastern or Mediterranean grocery store, any store that sells halal foods would usually have it, or any store that sells Indian foods, like from India or Pakistan or anywhere like that, would have it. It's basically like, it's a mango puree that's a little bit thinner than what would be if it was baby food. But that's what we use. I'm going to the mosque tomorrow to do some stuff. What I could do, I can take a picture of the mango cans, the mango pulp cans, and I'll toss that up on a community post so we get an idea of what those look like. But those have all have already been paid for. The milk and ice cream have basically been paid for, as in the money was given to Hillel Groceries to hold for that purpose, and then someone will simply have to go to Costco, and you have to be a member of Costco to do this, obviously, but go to Costco, pick up a few buckets of the ice cream, and then a few gallons of the milk, bring them back to Hillel, store them there. That way it takes less time to transport it from where they're at to the mosque, because Hillel Groceries is maybe about 18 blocks away. Or the equivalent of about 18 blocks, because some of the streets don't exactly jive with each other. But it'd take a whole lot less time to go from Hillel to the mosque as it would from someone going to Costco and then bringing it back. That's a much longer distance. But we have the little cups that we serve it in. Another person already paid for those, and those are already in the mosque, ready to set up. We have a cooking schedule, or for the most part, for some they don't actually do the cooking. What they do is they sponsor the meal. They may buy the ingredients or give money and say, go get these ingredients, cook this, cook that, and someone else will actually do the cooking. Our stove still has not been relit, so a restaurant is going to be doing that. And we actually have a couple of them that we can go to. And then there's a halal food truck, trying to get him to do a couple of nights, but I think he might be booked, or he may have gone out of town. In fact, I invited him to set up at the White Eagle Powwow last year, but he was not able to make it. A family thing happened, which prevented him from doing that, but he was definitely interested. So he may, not sure if he'll be able to do it again, but our vendor person has his info, because he did fill out and return the vendor form from last year. But if we can get him to do a couple nights, and there are some people who do have the ability to cook a decent amount of food at home. So that's what we're going to be doing, at least for a while. But on Tuesdays is our pizza night. There's a Little Caesars not too far, and we already have the arrangements made to have a big stack of pizzas made and paid for. So all someone has to do is just go get them. And some of them are cheese pizzas, some of them are veggie pizzas. So we still got a few meal sponsorship days to completely fill out. And because one of those will be when I make my dessert, I still have yet to find out when I'm going to do it. So I'll talk to the woman who said she might be able to get someone to get the number 10 mixed fruit cans for me. I have all the other ingredients. I got the mandarin oranges, I got the raisins, the marshmallows. And I also bought a jar of instant coffee to take there. One jar is almost completely empty. There's plenty of room in another jar, so I think what I might do, I'll take the one that doesn't have much left in it, pour it into one that still has room, and then that'll get that one out of the way, and then just put the one that I'm bringing there for people to use. But we'll have to tell people, if you want water or tea, you'll have to bring your own hot water in a carafe, or use a kettle in the kitchen, because we tried, the supply room, if you run a heavy load off of even one outlet in there, because the circuits in there are tied to the kitchen, that's going to pop a breaker. So someone tried that, and that's what happened. So that electric kettle is in the kitchen. So if people want hot water, they'll either have to bring it in a carafe or use that electric kettle in the kitchen. My electric percolator could be used there, but then again, it would definitely be a watt hog considering how old it is. I need to get my kilowatt, plug that into an outlet here, and then plug my electric kettle into there, run that, and see how many watts that thing draws. I bet it draws a lot. But it does work since I have tested it. I've not run coffee through it yet because at the time I did not have the filters. I do have filters for it now, but I do want to get some more. But that could be another option for hot water. But I would just be afraid that someone might want to take it, so I may not. I just may keep it here at home, but it could be an option. Or we just use our 4-cup measuring cup, put water in it, stick that in the microwave for about 3 or so minutes. If it's that full, because those are glass, they're Pyrex. We could stick that in there, get a little bit of hot water. Or some will just have to bring already made tea and coffee from home in carafes. And that's what some do. Yeah, I did not take my jar of instant coffee over there yesterday, but I will tomorrow. My main thing yesterday, I wanted to get the fire blankets and the wipes, taken there, put them where I want them to be. So tomorrow, a few of us will be there just to get supplies put where they will be, easy to get that. And we are still hoping to get donations for more supplies because what we have now will not last all of Ramadan, but we have a good start. Those bottles of liquid hand soap, the bigger bottles that I've shown before, we got a bunch of those there. People have donated dish soap, so the Dawn Power Wash. One of those spray bottles is empty, but because I took a couple of the refills there, I can fill up one of those spray bottles, and then now that'll be good to go. That's easy to do. To take that spray top off, fill it up with one of those refills, put that spray top back on, and you're back in business. I actually kept a couple of those refills here at home. I may go ahead and take them there later on if that's necessary. Unfortunately, I do not own a jet boil. I have a one of those really small isobutane stoves that would not hold a huge pot. It wouldn't have the capacity of your average jet boil or the fire maple version. But if I had a jet boil, that could be an option. But depending on what size gas can I use, probably go through one of the 1 pounders in a week if it was used every day. But if there was a much larger size that could handle a lot more water, like the amount you would put in your average 12-cup coffee maker, then that would probably burn up the fuel too if I had one that size. But the electric kettle, as long as it's being used in the right location, it could work. But if we can get people to fill up carafes or thermoses with water that they boil and then bring it from home, that would probably be a good option. We do have an insulated carafe that has a spigot on it that probably holds maybe 3 quarts, maybe a little bit shy of a gallon. We do have one of those that we have used. I have made tea on the stove and then filled that up. Then that got put on a serving table. So we've done that before. But we'll have some further discussions on that. In fact, I still have crafts here that I picked up at thrift stores that, or someone had taken to the mosque and then just left. And they were, although they still work, they still hold liquid. They were looking like they had not been cleaned all that well. There might have a little bit of a surface abrasion. So I ended up bringing those home instead of those getting tossed in a dumpster. And I keep them full of water. So those are part of my water storage. And also, if I wanted to, those little coolers, that last light blue and white cooler with a pour spout that I liberated from the laundry room, I could easily fill that full of boiling water, take that, and then use that there instead of trying to find some way to heat water on the fly. That thing would just be sitting there full. I could do that. I've leak tested that container. That works. And that holds the water in, no problem. It just needed a cleanup, and so it got that. So that is an option that I could do. And that would be easy for me to carry. Or I just fill it there. I could use the electric kettle to boil water and then fill that cooler. So it would be a hot water jug instead of a cold water jug. Then that would be available. That would hold the heat in for a while until it's needed for instant coffee or tea. That's something I can think about. I actually have 2 that have the flip out spout. That you can either just pour out of or drink out of it. So that is something that can be used as well. So that is something we'll be thinking about. And I finished the coffee, so that's done. But we just have a few days to get things finalized, at least for the first few days while we work out the kinks. There usually are some hiccups at the beginning, but we get those worked out. On average, we feed 150 to 200 a night. On a rare occasion, we may go over 200. As long as we know far enough in advance, we can plan for it and we can work the logistics out. Like that night, we did over 500 served. We had 4 kitchens going, at least for the rice and the meats and veggies, and then we had other people bring additional foods, like 2 or 3 people doing salads, and we have a few doing some kind of a dessert or fruit or whatever we did. And we pulled out all of the serving utensils we had. But we pulled that off, and the guests were amazed at how well we were able to pull that off. So for sure I'll be going there doing a few things. I don't know how long I will stay tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what time I'll be going there, but I'll figure that out in the morning. I don't know if I will go back again Tuesday. So tomorrow night, well, tomorrow at 6 o'clock Central, I have a White Eagle Powwow Committee meeting, but that's on Zoom only, so I don't have to try to bum a ride to the library where we have had the meetings in the past. So that's what I'll do tomorrow night. And depending on how long that goes, sometimes that cuts into Gil's Tuesday stream, sometimes not. But we will be having a delayed party that was supposed to take place last month, but several people were sick or were out of town, could make it, and this month didn't work out for people, so it will be after because Ramadan ends about the 20th of March. Possibly, could be the 19th, I'm not sure. So the 22nd will be my next stream, my next Sunday night dinner stream. But the party that would have been a holiday party, that will take place later in March. Maybe it'll be spring break time and any teachers will not have to be at school. And some others might have some nights off from work or whatever, but we'll have a Zoom option for that for those who cannot physically attend. Like we have one committee member who is in Massachusetts. But she is planning on moving back to Iowa at the end of this school year. She misses Iowa. She wants to come back, but she took advantage of an opportunity, a career opportunity. But she's homesick for Iowa, so at the end of this school year, she will make arrangements to move back to Iowa, so she won't have to deal with those logistical nightmares when it's time to come back for the powwow, because she does not want to miss it. She just loves it too much. She's my crafting partner. But she's already looking for jobs that she can try to get into in the fall of 26. But yeah, she'll hop on Zoom. And then a couple others may hop on Zoom because they may be too far away from Des Moines but still in Iowa, or they have to be stuck at home because of whatever. So we have that option open, which is good. But we will still have a gift exchange. I have a gift prepared. There's something, it's called door prizes. I actually have one for that. And I already have my meal contribution. I did that, but I got that stashed in the freezer because I didn't want to try to come up with something so fast after Ramadan where I might not have enough time to do any grocery shopping. So I just I took that Nutella knockoff, I spread it on those ladyfingers. I did 2 of those packs that were in that outer wrap, and I got those in the freezer. I put parchment in between the layers of those. So I still have 2 more of those packs of 12 that are inside of the outer wrap, and I got some more of that spread, so they should be good because I'm keeping those other lady fingers in my fridge, and that Nutella stuff does not have to be refrigerated even after opened. So I checked it, it's still good. And because that stuff is in a glass jar, that jar will be kept after it gets emptied. But I will finish those off. That'll be something I can do fairly easily. I could have easily just eaten all of those with that. Nope. I chose those things specifically for a specific event, and they're going to stay that way. I haven't gotten into those tortillas, so I could do quesadillas as well, but I'm not going to do that. I might not have time to do that. And with my oven not working, I can't do a bunch of them in there. So I figured frosting cookies, that's easy. Just what I've chosen may be a little different. I finished off one of those bags of cocoa mix that my mom had given me. I got the other one stashed away for a later time. But those bags come with a scoop. So I obviously saved that scoop because those scoops are a good thing to have. They're similar to the scoops that I had bought off of Amazon before Ramadan of last year or the year before, I think it was. But those are very good things to have around, so when I do get into that other bag, I'll save that scoop too. And that Nestle Cocoa Mix, that plastic container that I have, that one also has a scoop in it. Because that one is sealed in a plastic container. That's less susceptible to being compromised by a pest. But for attending the other people's streams, that will definitely not be happening after this week. I'll catch Gil's stream tomorrow night. And of course, right after that, a Cold War prepper. I'll be obviously hitting that one up. But any others after that, those may not happen. In fact, I'm pretty sure a lot of them won't happen. But that's just the way it goes. I pretty much I think I've already decided on the 22nd of March, I'll go ahead and do that last remaining halal MRE that I have. And I'll have some G7 3-in-1 coffee to go with it. Yeah, I like that stuff too much. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I think for the time being, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me for this pub style pulled beef packed in 2021. It's a good choice. I just wish that the chocolate bars would have been in a little bit better shape. But as you can tell, I ate them all. Again, I chose not to use the peanut butter, the jelly, or the strawberry jam, or the Tabasco. And these little Tic Tacs are going into long-term storage. I saved these drink mixes for use at another time. So I want to, again, thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I put up a post about, when I put up a post earlier this afternoon, I said this would be my last stream until after Ramadan. And I put it again in the description of this one. So I've had people ask me why I wasn't live. I put up a post saying I wouldn't be live. You just have to pay attention. So if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss out. But anyway, I'll see you all after Ramadan on March 22nd. Thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.